The next section I have is for teen movies. This is a category I did have a lot of trouble kind of narrowing down what to choose. There's so many that were from my own teenage years that I watched, you know, pre-teen, and then that came slightly after I was through high school or through that age, or that just, there's so many to choose from, so many great films. I did try to keep it under control here, and I chose Bend It Like Beckham. This was a film that just, I think, encapsulates those kind of teen movies. It's like the best of the best when it comes to that. And on top of it, it's one that just I love. I watched this film so many times when it came out. I really loved it. I really identified with both the girls in this story, and it just really, you know, affected me and kind of pushed me forward at that point in my life. The other movie I'll mention here is also from Gurinder Chadha, and this was definitely, like, I was I was older and past the point of this film being targeted at me, but I had grown up and I'd read these Louise Renison books and really liked them as a teen, and so when the movie came out, I really wanted to see it, especially as it was directed by Gurinder Chadha, who I love, and that's Angus, Thongs, and Perfect Snogging. The book is called Angus, Thongs, and Full Frontal Snogging, but this is the movie version. Again, it's a really good portrayal of teen girls. There's many movies out there that get it right for, like, moments of time, but I feel like these Gurinder Chadha movies kind of are, there's not moments in them that you go, no, that pull you away from it. It's just a complete second. This movie specifically really just dragged me back to my teen years. Well, the first time I saw it, I thought of things I hadn't, you know, thought about and probably since they happened, or, you know, just between people and places and feelings. Like, it was just, it really brought stuff back. I definitely was, you know, a Georgia Nicholson type in the realm of kind of teen girls, and so that's one that I really enjoy and always kind of, sometimes when I'm feeling nostalgic about high school, I go for this, even though I didn't watch it in high school. And the next category is chick flicks. This is another one that I had a hard time narrowing down because I like kind of the good and bad ones, but there's also like a whole slew of them I don't like, so I couldn't just be like any of them. But for favorites, I'm going to go with Bridget Jones' Diary. Again, this is one I watched over and over again, kind of when it first came out on VHS. I liked a lot of the Richard Curtis ones, but I will say that a lot of the ones that I watched a lot at that point, I don't tend to gravitate back to as much now. This is one that, you know, there's moments in life where you just need to watch Bridget Jones, and so I do. The next film I'll talk about in this category is Decoy Bride. This is a newer film, and it's Alice Eve, Kelly MacDonald. I almost said Lindsay McDonald, but that's a YouTuber. Kelly MacDonald and Alice Eve, and this is just, again, like, it's a cheesy rom-com, but there's real moments in it that I love. I love the idea of this story. It does have that mistaken identity element to it at different points, and just has a lot of things I like in it. It does have a lot of places where it falls down, but it is one that I really like and is a favorite, so kind of had to put it on this. And the third one in that category is Fools Rush In. This is another one that really struck me when it came out. I don't think it gets enough kind of credit as being a good rom-com as it deserves. I never see this one make it to lists and all that kind of stuff, but I really like this one. I think, again, it's kind of got more interesting characters in it than some rom-coms do. That's kind of a failing of some rom-coms. It's not just that I want flawed characters, I want interesting characters, and this one I feel like definitely has that. It's also got some really kind of good banter and dialogue. It's not hot fuzz and like the kind of jokes it's delivering, but it is just a film that kind of struck me and has since I first watched it. But then again, you know, sometimes the baggage of watching those things as a teen or whatever moment in your life you watch that stuff, you take forward and you can't kind of sift out the movie from the moment. And that one might be that a little bit for me, but it is just, I think, also a kind of a nice film, a nice, pleasant, enjoyable, and just a good film to watch. The next category is superheroes, and for that, like, I'm really not a big superhero person. I probably watched more TV show with superheroes and, you know, like Superman and all those kind of things, but not a big movie superhero person, and nothing that I really would ever put on a favorites list necessarily. But I did decide to go with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Again, this was one that I kind of grew up with and was one of only 2 VHS tapes we took on holiday one year with us to a cottage when it rained the entire 2 weeks. So we watched it like literally twice a day at least. And the next year we had it again. But that year we did have 4 VHS tapes, but still another rainy year. We watched a lot of movies. So I've seen it a lot. It was my brother's favorite movie more than mine, but I did like it. I did enjoy it. So that's the one I picked. And also the next category is martial arts, and kind of I ended up putting that there too. Martial arts movies are probably, you know, again, not a category that I kind of know or own any of. I do know some, but not enough to distinguish them from other movies. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've watched some, but I don't know where to place them under which title and that kind of thing. So I went with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles just because that's, you know, vaguely kind of a martial arts film, although, you know, I realize not really. For the war movie, I don't have a copy of this either, but it is a beautiful, and I think very important movie, and that's The Best Years of Our Life. It was made right, like, at the end of the war, or right after the war, and it dealt with the servicemen coming home that were disabled, and at that point, you know, the like shell shock, which we now know is PTSD, and the lives that they'd left behind, and how that, you know, coming back to that was different, what their jobs might have changed, or their family life, the dynamic with girlfriends, parents, all that stuff. It's a beautiful, beautiful film that can be hard to watch at times, but very moving, and a film that I feel like there's a special something to it, and definitely a few scenes that kind of stay with you even when you've not watched the movie for ages and can't quite remember kind of everything that went on. There's some scenes and some imagery I feel like you will probably not ever forget. I definitely won't. There's a couple scenes in there that I definitely won't. It's a movie I'm definitely going to be looking at, trying to find in kind of the sales at the end of the year here. And for foreign film, again, these are not ones I have copies of, but I chose the Michael Powell Emmerich Pressburger film Black Narcissus, and also I Know Where I'm Going. Those are 2 very different films from them, but both ones that I just love. Black Narcissus is kind of this very mythical, fable-y story that takes place at a monastery in India, and, you know, there's a black narcissus flower and nuns, and it's just, again, like a strikingly, hauntingly beautiful film with a real message and purpose, and just, it's a film with a vision. There's no way around that. It's a film with a vision. I Know Where I'm Going probably strikes me on a more personal level. It's, again, it's a beautifully shot film, but the ideas and the presentation of that and how things unfold, and it takes you much more inside yourself than just beautiful external things. I mean, the other one, in fairness, it goes deep as well, but I Know Where I'm Going, I don't know. That one to me rings kind of truer on a personal level, but I really like them both. For horror, this is another genre. Like, I watch a lot of suspense stuff, but horror, it's as itself, I probably haven't watched in quite a number of years now. But one that I always did really used to enjoy was Nosferatu, which I'm probably pronouncing wrong because that's the name that I read all the time, but not pronounce aloud. And that's a silent German film, black and white silent German film that, again, just quite spooky. And it isn't like a modern horror, you know, because it was made in the 20s. But, oh, it's actually 1922. It was made in the 20s, but something about that one I do think is really kind of spooky and creepy, and I really do love it as a horror film. I did add a few extra categories to this because I wanted to cheat, basically, but also I thought they were categories that were just kind of missing from this list. So the first one is pre-code films, which that's a group of films that were filmed before the kind of whatever the censoring came in the United States, Hollywood industry. So there's kind of partial that's quite a bit of nudity, there's murders, there's loose morals, like quite interesting stuff really happening. And for that, my kind of top pick for that was I Was a Fugitive from a Chain Gang. Again, really a movie, especially where the ending will stick with you. I feel like if that's like the one film of these pre-codes I mentioned that you'd be wanting to look into, I'd say that's a really good choice. One of the other films I want to mention was M, and that's a 1931 film starring James Cagney. Again, just a really different role, just a really good kind of mystery crime type story. Very, again, one that sticks with you. I'm afraid to say too much for some of these because they do have kind of bigger twists to them, and I don't want to ruin the movie for you if you haven't seen it but are wanting to watch it. Another one from that pre-code genre is Murder! Exclamation point, and that is from an early Alfred Hitchcock from 1930, I want to say. I think it's 1930. So I don't know if it's his first one with talking and dialogue, but it must be one of the very early ones. It's quite good. And again, if you're interested in Hitchcock and you haven't seen that one, I do recommend it. The next category that I added to this list was old B movies. And this is, again, a genre I think doesn't get enough love. I do really, really like them. And probably if you had to take away all the kind of classic blockbusters or all the B movies, I'd be really, really tempted to tell you to take away all the classic blockbusters. I think some of the big musicals would be where it really like pulled at my heartstrings, but I think I probably would choose B movies. And the first one I'm going to mention here is Happy Go Lovely. This is a movie starring Cesar Romero. Cesar Romero shouldn't have said first. It's David Niven, Vera Ellen, and Cesar Romero, set at the Edinburgh Festival, and it was filmed in the 50s. I think it was, 51. And it's just a cute, it's actually a color film. The picture on the front of this, you'd think it wasn't. And it's one that I haven't seen around a lot. I do think it's quite cute. It is a bit choppy in places, but for that kind of B movie film, I do think it really is one of the better ones. And two other ones I want to mention are from this set here. And this is just like one of those comedy classic sets. So rather awfully there, my camera shut off. I don't know whether it had reached the maximum time. I did just realize how long I had talked for. I hope it caught everything of that last group, although I do think I'm going to do the last category very quickly here because this video is already way too long, and that is silent films. And so my first one that I'll mention is, because I've got a copy of it here, is The Artist. This was a film that I really, really liked, and it wasn't just the element of like novelty. I think it was a really, really good story and kind of told a complete story to it. And I can't help but feel that that's where silent films would have ended up in like just a couple more years had they been allowed to continue. There was definitely, not allowed to continue because obviously they were allowed, but the studio started making the talkies. The camera movement was so beautiful, and although you do see a lot of silent movies with that kind of beautiful camera work and beautiful storytelling, I can't help but feel that this movie would have been one that could have been made at that time, or at least, you know, a couple years later. It's a film that just really struck me that way. And, you know, so much of what happened with the talkies was great. We got sound, but it also took away so much from the kind of visual aspect of the filmmaking when the cameras had to stay stagnant and the people couldn't move as much and all that kind of thing. But having said that, two other silent films I wanted to mention was Safety Last, which is a Harold Lloyd film. And again, just amazing, some of the kind of visual stunts that they do, as well as Harold Lloyd was amazing, and overall, like, so many of his movies are great. And you know that when you look at The Freshman, or oh my god, again, I said names not coming easily today. The Freshman is another one that probably was very close to making the list, but Safety Last I decided was kind of, it's really been my favorite for a long time of his. And then Thief of Baghdad was the other one I wanted to mention. Was a Donald Fairbanks movie, and again, just like really stunning physicality to that film. The story's, you know, lovely and great, but that kind of visual element to The Thief of Baghdad to me is really captivating. So anyway, I am going to wrap it up because I do know that this has been ridiculously long. I might actually have split this into 2 parts. That's, I think, probably most likely what I've done. Anyway, please, thanks for watching, and let me know if any of these are your favorite. And if you haven't done this tag, I would love to see your answers. I think most people have, but you know, if you haven't, I'd be interested in seeing your answers as well. I know one person that probably hasn't done that, and that's Leroy Green. I'd like, if you want to do this, I tag you, because then you're tagged, and now you know. I know you're not going to, but that's okay. I've tagged you. So yeah, that's, let me know what your favorite from my choices, or what some of your choices would be in those categories. If you don't want to do the whole video, I'd love to know. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to comment, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Can't forget that, and I'll see you soon. Bye.